Hey everyone, Piano Man Chuck here. I'm here today with the Kurzweil SP6. This is a new release for Kurzweil, and this is a first for Kurzweil. We're talking about a keyboard for Kurzweil that is actually 27 pounds. That is a first for them. That's about 12 kilograms. Now, in order to create a keyboard that's 27 pounds, we kind of have to deviate from the typical Kurzweil standard and make the case plastic. So that's going to reduce the weight significantly just by reducing that, but then that's not quite enough. They've also deviated from their typical FITAR keyboard action, and they went from a FITAR to a Medeli K6 keyboard action. All right, so, and this particular thing, I was surprised out of the box when I was unpacking this thing. It came with everything. I mean, it doesn't come with an amp and speakers or a PA or anything like that, but for a stage piano, it comes with everything. Naturally, it comes with the power supply that you plug into the back of the board so you can power the keyboard and turn it on, of course. All right, but it also comes with all the cables. It came with the pedal. It comes with a damper pedal switch. So basically, it's a nice damper pedal, but basically it's a switch. So the damper is either on or off. And now it does support half damping, and you're going to have to buy an optional half damper pedal for that. Now I happen to use a Korg DS1H, which is this pedal right here, and that happened to work just plugging it in with no further changes. So I have half damping here with my Korg pedal. It also came with a pair of 1/4 inch left and right cables, so you can hook this up to your audio input device for your computer or your PA or your mixer, whatever, anything like that. Also came with the USB cable so that you can plug that into your computer. How cool is that? It just came with everything. I didn't expect that, but it did. In the typical Kurzweil tradition, it supports VAST, KB3, and VA1 architecture. Basically, it's got 256 programs built in and 130 multis. But get this, for your user setups, you have control of 1,024 user programs and 1,024 multis. How cool is that? So you got a lot of room to play around, and this keyboard is highly configurable. You can do a lot with this right the way it is, and the sounds to die for. Now, the higher priced Artis and Forte, I mean, people have used that to create movie scores and things like that with. You can do the same thing here. Awesome. I mean, really, I'm blown away with what this keyboard can do. And it's also compatible 100% with the Forte SE sound format. So you can load sounds here that you could play on the Forte SE as well. And not only that, also has PC3 compatibility as well. And it's got a editor that you can download after you buy this. It's an SP6 sound editor so that you can further configure the sounds and customize these to your heart's content. And when they come out with updates, you can actually update the OS with a flash drive or a thumb drive or directly with your computer. And the cool thing is, when you have the USB hooked up to your computer, you can actually transfer files back and forth. It actually creates a temporary virtual drive on your computer, and you can drag and drop stuff to that, and that will transfer back and forth. Most of the other keyboard manufacturers use that USB cable for MIDI only, and some use it also to carry audio signals. And Kurzweil has developed a way to use that to transfer files back and forth. How cool is that? I'm blown away with that. All right. The other thing this has is 2 gigabytes of sounds. And they have this flash play thing so that when you turn this on, it boots in like 11 seconds. and everything is loaded into that 2 gigs of memory, so you don't have to load anything. When you switch from one sound to another, it's seamless and the load time is instant. It's right there, unlike other keyboard manufacturers. And one of the coolest things is it has the KB3 tone reel organs to it. And they have a way, which I'll describe later, to control all 9 drawbars right here in this section. All right, so let's get down to the nitty gritty and let's start out with the ins and outs on the back panel, going from your left to my right. Okay, first thing is a power switch so that you can turn it on and off, obviously. Then there's the DC in, which is 15 volts and 2.5 amps. And I love that, and I'll tell you why in another video, but basically you'd be able to power this without an AC power source. Look for that video in the future. USB A and B sockets. So the A can take like a USB flash or thumb drive, and the B connects directly to your computer. And your standard legacy MIDI in and out jacks, which is really cool because you can hook this up to other MIDI devices that have the same legacy MIDI in and out jacks. Really cool. Love that feature. All right. And on the other side, you'll see something that looks like an option for a future jack. Looks like I could probably just punch that in, and maybe there's a jack already there. I'm not sure. There's switch 2 and switch 1, and the switch 1 is reserved for a sustain pedal, and that's the one that comes with it. And I'm not sure why they call it a switch, because if I hook up a half damper pedal, whether it's Kurzweil or the Cord DS1H that I'm using, it does half dampering, and that's beyond switch capabilities. So I believe that switch 1 is really mislabeled. It should be labeled as pedal slash sustain slash half damper. And the other pedal jack is for continuous control, which is used for things like volume or expression. And then you've got your standard left and right 1/4-inch balanced TRS audio outputs with 32-bit DACs. And that's balanced, you're using a TRS type cable. If you're using the standard cables, which are just TS, you're fine with that too. The advantage of the balanced ones is you can go a lot further distance from your keyboard to the PA or your mixer or whatever. And lastly, but not least, just a 1/4-inch stereo headphone jack. All right, so that's it for the ins and outs. And for the controls on the surface over here, you've got your transpose right here on the surface. And what's cool about that is if I transpose something, I see that it lights up. So this tells me, if I look over here, transpose is active. So when I'm going from one song to another when I'm playing with a band, I see that that's lit up, and I want to make sure that it's not lit up when I go to the next song because I may not be transposing that. Very cool feature to have. I can't tell you how many other boards that I played with where you hit the transpose, you forget you're in transpose because there's no visual light or anything else reminding you that you're in transpose. And then you've got your standard pitch wheel and modulation wheels right there. Very handy. And I love the fact that it is above the keys over here rather than to the left of that. That makes the keyboard shorter. For keyboards that have this to the left, I have a harder time getting this to fit in my car. That 5 or so inches that it adds, plus the extra few inches of the case that you put it in, almost makes it difficult or even impossible on some cars to get that in. So very smart idea on Kurzweil's part to put it above the bottom keys. Over here in this section, you got your volume control, you got your variation switch. Now, if I'm playing something over here, and I hit the variation switch, So it creates a little variation of what I'm playing. So that's pretty cool too. And over here, you've got this other section where you can turn on your arpeggiators. You can have one for a program or four for a multi. And again, let me just terminology here. Program, that's what Kurzweil uses. Other keyboard manufacturers use terms like tones, patches, sounds. They all mean the same thing. Kurzweil choose to use programs, which is a good term to use. All right, you got tap tempo, and basically over here in this section, you have four knobs over here. But these four knobs control 12 different things. So when you're in program mode, and you're playing a piano, for instance, I want you to look at this LED right here. This LED is pointing to this first row over here. And if I press shift, it points to the second row. And if I press shift again, it points to the third row. Now, whatever row this is on, that's what these four knobs control. So each program is a little bit different for the first four rows. And when you get to the next row, and as you turn each knob, you're seeing what that knob is controlling. This first one over here in that second row is controlling the filter frequency. The second one, filter resonance. The third one, the attack. And the fourth one, release. So the third and fourth are controlling part of the envelope. And you go to the third row, and you're controlling the effects. Basically, string resonance amount, chorus amount, delay amount, and reverb amount. And I love that reverb amount. So you have a lot of control with these. Now, these also double for when you have a tone reel organ or the KB3 organ. So basically, if I go to the organ section, I've got a big Leslie B3 here. And if you look at the drawbar numbers down here, these are the 9 drawbar or organ stops. Okay? Now, if I select the first row, these four knobs control the first 4 drawbars. See? And if I hit shift to switch it over to the second row, I'm controlling drawbars 5 through 8. And when I change this one, you'll see it's controlling drawbar 5, and you'll notice drawbar 5 is changing in value. 6, 7, 8, and you guessed it, if I press it again, I go to the last row. This first knob will control drawbar 9, and the other 3 will control chorus amount, delay amount, and reverb amount. A lot different than the way it originally sounds. So that's cool that they implemented it like that, because you don't really need to spend more money to have 9 individual sliders for drawbars when you can shorten it by doing it this route. That keeps the price down, in addition to the plastic case and the awesome Modeli K6 key action. All right, then over here we have a little bit more controls. And you go to the control section over here, and you'll see the screen and previous and next buttons and split and layer pointing to both of these. So if I press both of these at the same time, I can choose between split or layer. And if I want to choose layer, I've highlighted that. I hit enter. Now I got Leslie on program 1. And on program 2, I've got Adagio Tutti 8 V's. Now I can change that. So it's really easy to create a layer over here. Okay, now let's suppose I want to split instead. Press both again, and I'll go back to split, and I'll choose that instead. All right, so on the first one, I want a piano. And on the bottom one, let me choose a different bass over here. All right, so you get the idea. So it's really super easy to create a bass or a split with this. And you just press exit to get back to where you were. Let me go back to a piano here. All right, so you've seen me use this jog wheel over here to go from one sound to another. And over here, this is my mode section here. Right now, I've been in program mode the whole time. If I go to multi-mode, I can choose from the multis that are included in this or from user multis. So if I go ahead and type in a value of a mode that I want, or without the keypad, if I'm searching for it in a certain section, I can do that. So that's one of the multis. That's really cool. I have a lot of fun with that one. And over here in the category section, I have a choice of 9 different categories. So, I mean, there's 256 different sounds built into here, or called programs by Kurzweil's nomenclature. But you can break it down by, if you go to the piano section, you have your choice of pianos. So you get the idea. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you have some awesome sounding pianos here. They say that they have a German D, which would be a Steinway D. They say they have a Japanese Grand, which would be a Yamaha. So awesome sounding pianos in here. I have no complaints about the way these pianos sound. Electric pianos. Let's try a classic harpsy. Very cool. Organs, well, we've heard the big Leslie before. Arco strings. All right, so you get an idea of what those sounds are like. And there's just so many good things to this keyboard. I mean, you're getting the best condensed into here from the Artis and the Forte series, including compatibility with some of their sounds. So, I mean, how cool can you get? And again, I can't get over the fact that this is a Kurzweil at 27 pounds. And also that Medeli K6 action is a really nice, pleasant change from their standard Fitar action. Really nice action. And of course, you have keyboard velocity levels, so you can set the velocity level exactly the way you want. So let's go through some of these menu layers over here. Let's go to global section, and you can see what you can change here. And the global section applies to the entire keyboard. So you can change the tuning and the velocity map, intonation map, intonation key, local channel, auto power on or off, and you can change the time for local power on or off, anywhere from 15 minutes to a couple of hours. Multi-change, whether it's immediate or otherwise, and so on and so forth. Okay, so when I get to the bottom over here, I see that this is just page 1 of 6, and I've got 5 more pages to go. So if I go up to the next page, I can control what these switches are over here. Switch 1A isn't set for anything, but I can set it to sustain. And these are my switch inputs on the back. Sustain, or sostenuto, or soft for soft pedal. Data increment, data decrement, favorite increment, favorite decrement, arpeggiator on or off, arpeggiator latch, or none. And I can do that for any of those switches in the back for those switch pedal inputs. Okay, and the KB3 rotary over here, let's go down to that. I can change that from button plus pedal to just button. And let's go over to the next page. This deals with files like I was talking about. If you have files on your computer and you've got your USB cable here hooked up to your computer. This section over here, if I press enter, will create a virtual drive on your computer, which you can drag and drop files to, and that will move it back and forth between here and your computer. Very, very cool. Page 4 of 6 shows you a list of user objects. 5 is just info, and 6, well, let's not go to 6 right now. Exit. Maltese. And again, there's 130 different Maltese here. And you can store up to 1,024 of your own Maltese. But a multi is something that basically has up to 4 different tones, and you can control each one of them. So looking at this one that I was playing before, all right, you look over here at the zones. Zone 1, 2, and 3 is turned on, and zone 4 is turned off. So this multi is using 3 different tones. And if I want to hear the tones individually, I just turned off 3 and 2, so number 1 is lit. So it's from this key up. Turn that off, go to the second one. And you can hear that. Turn that off, go to the third one. Okay. Turn them all on. How cool is that? Now, if I want to change those, I hit edit, and now I can change all 4 of these zones. And the cool thing about this is I haven't even talked about the favorites buttons yet. In the favorites buttons, I can store 5 programs or 5 multis or any combination of programs and multis. And it's kind of a small number, 5. So if you're playing in a band and you're storing 5 different programs, and you're playing a song that needs piano in one, and it needs guitar in another, and it needs flute in a third, and something else in a fourth, that's cool. But when you're storing multis, you can actually use that as additional storage spaces. Look how I can store up to 4 different programs in a multi. So if I store one multi, I have up to 4 different programs that I can choose from just by turning the zones off and turning on the appropriate zone for the program that I want. In this case, this is a solo English horn. If I turn that off, go to the next one, 72 proper pizzicato. Okay, and so on and so forth. And it's really easy to change. If I want to change that English horn to some kind of guitar, and if I want to change the second one to, I don't know, some kind of string, and have the first two together, and change the third one to something else, and the cool thing about that is I got 3 things right now that are going on. I can hit this shift button, go back to the first row, and guess what? I have individual volume controls for those. So So this has been a very, very brief introduction to the Kurzweil SP6, and I hope this has answered some questions for you. Overall, this is a very, very cool keyboard, and I'm just so glad all of these different buttons and stuff light up, because a lot of times when you're on the stage, it's dark. You can't see anything. So that's where these buttons lighting up comes in very, very handy. There's going to be more videos about this, so tune in. Piano Man Chuck, peace out. Thanks for watching.